Kirara, our newest addition to our lovely card girls. I'm sure many of you guys are loving her design just as I do. Oh my god, she's so cute, guys. She's going to be coming along in our first phase banner, which is going to be on Yaimiko and Yoimiya's, which kind of makes sense because you know at the end of the day, Yaimiko is kind of like a fox or kitsune. Now being cute has its own merit, but what about Kirara's skills performance? And that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. We're going to be looking in depth into Kirara's skills and kits and analyze everything regarding all of the pre-release information we've got access to this character, so that kind of gives you an idea of how well she performs and whether or not if she's going to be a worth it character for you to invest your resources in, because every time we try to build a character it takes a huge amount of resource in our account. Now guys, talking about pulling for characters, if you are new to the channel then be sure to subscribe, so I will be doing a giveaway at 35,000 subscribers, and that's going to be a huge chance for you to grab a lot of primo gems for your next character pulls. I really appreciate you guys as always, and with that let's just dive into today's video. First off, let's take a look into Kirara's skills and kit. She's going to be having HP Ascension stats increase, which is technically the stat that she's going to be mainly focusing, and that is going to be HP. She does have a really beautiful looking normal attack animation. However, most of the time you're not ever going to be doing that, so we don't really need to worry about too much. Now most of her abilities will surround into her E skill. Is that Kirara is going to be basically giving you a Dendro shield. It has two options. First one is going to be press, that quickly deals AoE Dendro damage, and after that provide your team with a Dendro shield with 250% effectiveness towards Dendro attack. Now what's good about this shield though, guys, is that it does have access to stacking ability. So technically the shield duration uptime is 12 seconds, which is a pretty long time, guys. However, the lowest cooldown it has is going to be 8 seconds. Therefore you have the ability to recast the shield before the duration actually ends. So if you're able to manage your shield well and it hasn't broken yet, then whenever you recast your shield, the numbers will stack on top of how much your current shield have access to left. So if you're looking at talent 8 for example, the first shield cast is going to be having a 16% max HP plus 1800 HP. However, there's a max shield damage absorption where it goes all the way up to 25.6% max HP plus 2900 HP. So this is a very nice mechanic that Kirara shield have access to. However, she also have a hold option in her E skill where she kind of turns herself into what's called an urgent Neko parcel to move around on the field. Now whenever you bump into your enemies, it's going to be dealing Dendro damage. So basically kind of like an ability to allow Kirara to be the on-field character for you. Other than that, it does allow you to traverse the world a little bit faster, plus the ability to climb walls a lot easier, so that's kind of a nice addition. However, the longer you stay in this state, the longer her E skill cooldown is going to be, up to a 12-second max cooldown, so you do want to keep that in mind. And then her burst is pretty simple. She's going to be dealing AoE Dendro damage, and then after the first hit explode, it's going to spread into many other what's called Catgrass cardamoms, where if the enemies make contact into that, they will explode, or after the certain period of time they will explode themselves as well, which is kind of really nice. But what's really good though, guys, is that if you look into the scaling, it's actually very high. At talent level 10 with a scaling of 1000, plus a smaller explosion have access to an additional 64% scaling. So on paper looking, this is very high scaling for a 4-star character. However, the sad thing is that Kirara scales with HP and this skill damage scale off of attack percentage. So overall that kind of balance out to be kind of like a 4-star character stat. Now for passive talent 1, what it does is that whenever she's in her hold states and she bumps into her enemies, there's going to be a certain stack activated, and this goes up to a maximum of 3 stack. Now at the end of her E skill duration, each of the stack is going to help you create an additional shield that have 20% of the damage absorption compared to her normal shield. So adding 3 of the stacks, you're basically having a 60% additional shield, or basically kind of like a helping stack for her shield. So that's going to be giving you a little benefits in terms of holding down Kirara's E skill. As for second passive talent, basically every 1000 max HP Kirara possess will increase the damage dealt by her E skill by 0.4 4% and her burst damage by 0.3%. So this is kind of like a makeup for her to be focusing on her HP rather than, you know, trying to build her on the attack side, because after all, we want to focus as much HP onto Kirara as possible. So that's basically all of the skills and kits on Kirara. Now I want to discuss a little bit in terms of how good her potential is going to be and her potential downside. So from the look of it, guys, at C0, Kirara is going to be technically a pure shielder for your team. She has a really nice shield if you don't really have like Baizu already at this point, which I believe many of us don't. Then Kirara is going to be a Dendro shield for your account. The shield damage absorption is quite nice too, because as we've known, Kirara also have access to the stacking ability of her shield, plus the cooldown is really nice with basically only an 8-second cooldown while the shield have 12-second uptime. So therefore, if you're able to manage your shield properly, like if the shield doesn't break before its duration end, you're technically gonna be having your shield 100% up all the time, which is really nice. And considering this is a Dendro shield, it's gonna be a better option to be using Kirara, especially when you're taking Dendro course damage. So that's kind of like a reason for you to be using her on top of some other 4-star character shield. She can be a decent on-field character for your team to apply Dendro when holding down her E skill, plus her passive talent 1 does help her a bit with shield stacking. So on top of everything, that can be something for you to consider if you want to have Kirara to be on field. She has very nice burst scaling with up to 1000 damage scaling at level 10. So on paper, we already know that's pretty high. Topping off with her passive 2 does help her to transition a bit of HP into that burst damage. So she's going to be able to help your team have a bit of damage dealing here and there. However, Kirara does have certain downside at this point that we'd want to look into. Is that first of all, she's quite limited into how much she's able to help out your team at C0. Technically speaking, she's only going to be a shielder for your team if you are having Kirara off field. In order for her to apply more Dendro, she has to be on field holding down her E skill, or you have to be betting on her burst, smaller explosion to hit the enemy. That way you're practically going to be applying a little bit of more Dendro onto your enemies. Otherwise, she has almost no Dendro application for your team. Also no off-field damage, just pure shield support for the team and a bit of burst damage here and there, which I believe you guys have many other important characters to be thinking about slotting into your team. So that's something to be considering. And even when you're utilizing her E skill hold down for Dendro application, since this is considered to be E skill and not normal attack, you won't be able to trigger sub DPS character like Xingqiu, Yelan or Beidou's burst. So those important sub DPS characters are quite useless when you're using on-field Kirara. And also, even though C0 provides her a pretty decent shield, but whole universe kind of like want you to invest into a card girl to maximize her potential, as her constellation will make her into quite a different character, and in which we'll be discussing about her constellation right now. And so for her constellation, her C1, basically for any extra 8000 max HP Kirara possess, she will create 1 extra catgrass cardamoms, and there's an additional 4 extra catgrass can be created this way. So usually you create 6 catgrass after your burst explode, and now there's going to be an additional of 4, which is going to be 10. This is kind of like okay, not too much of a difference, just a bit more burst damage to help out your team. C2 is basically for co-op if I am translating this correctly, because it does mention other party member that she crashes into. So if you're using it solo or you're playing normally, guys, it's impossible for her to actually crash into your party member. So this is referring to co-op. Quite a nice addition. So your Kirara has more values in co-op situation. A C4 is going to be her most important cons, where basically after your active character who's protected by Kirara's shield, using your normal charge or plunging attack to hit the opponent, she will perform a coordinated attack with your active character, dealing 200% of her attack as Dendro damage, and this is considered to be elemental burst damage. So this constellation is very important for Kirara because she's going to be helping out as a sub DPS character on your team, even though she's not going to be doing that much damage for you, but it does give her the ability to be off field and helping you a bit more with Dendro application, so that's going to be giving her quite a lot more value. C6 is absolutely really nice, giving your team all elemental damage bonus of 12%, which is quite huge, especially considering at this point elemental damage bonus ability is still quite limited, so that's a nice addition for you. Now talking about her artifacts building, guys, is quite actually simple. You just go ahead and build all of HP onto her. So the 2-piece tenacity with 2-piece Vurukasha is the easiest for you to build. Very easy to farm, plus the substat artifacts farming is quite easier for you. So that's going to be all good. Now as for Kirara's weapon, from what I'm considering, the Sack Sword is technically going to be her best option at this point, especially for free-to-play player. So Sack Sword usually allows you to recast your E skill. Now we haven't been able to test, but there's a high chance that Sack Sword will allow you to instantly stack Kirara's shield, making you utilize her maximum stack almost 100% of the time, therefore making it technically her BIS option right now as of pre-release analysis. However guys, if you're a rich kid and you have some spare keys of Kashni suit or a Jade Cutter in your closet and you're not using it on anybody, then that is also her best option to use, especially the key where it increases a lot of her HP for shield. Talking about team comps, guys, I say it's pretty simple for her since she is technically a shielder for your team. She will be able to fit into any team that you like. However, if you want her to be on field spamming her E skill hold, then her option is quite limited because she requires your other character to be the triggerer of the sub DPS themselves, or in other words, character like Xingqiu, Yelan or Beidou who requires your active character to use normal attack will not be able to slot into Kirara's team. But other than that, most of the other sub DPS character will work fine. For example, like Xiangling, Fischl, Raiden's E skill, Yai Miko, Nahida, Barbara, Kaya, Kokomi, Rosaria and some other sub DPS character will still works perfectly fine. So there's a few options in terms of Kirara team building that you can slot your team and build around yourself, which is still quite nice. So when we look at everything into Kirara, I feel that she's a very nice addition we're having to Genshin Impact. First of all, we're having an additional very cute cat girl, which I already approved. However, meta wise, she's going to be very shield focused at C0 until C4. However, from what I am seeing right now, she's more like a preference character if you've already have many shield character on your team. If you're lacking a shielder on the team, then Kirara is going to be very nice, but most of the time you're going to be having her there on the team for fun because not many of us going to be having a C4 Kirara at any time soon for her to be more valuable in opposed to many of the other characters you've already have on your account. So guys, that's going to be all of my saying on Kirara at this point in time. If you do have any question, leave it down in the comment section and I or some other very nice Genshin Impact player will get to you there. I hope that the video have been helpful for you, and if you're still having trouble deciding which 5-star character to pull for patch 3.7, then I have a very in-depth video going through that, so be sure to check out the video right now on screen, guys. Again, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe as there will be a huge giveaway at 35,000 subs, and that's going to be a very big chance for you to pull for the character that you'd love. Again, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me till this part of the video, and with that, I wish you a super day and will catch you on my next video.